Warm greetings to all. We are the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Colombia. This is our presentation to the Global Consultation on Disasters Preparedness. We'll give you a contextualization of our country in terms of location and other important issues, trying to reflect around the four aspects you asked us to take into account. There are three different and frequent emergency situations in our country, such as earthquakes, floods, and humanitarian emergencies. Some of these caused from a strong socio-political conflict. These scenarios are an example of the many actions taken by IELCO. Colombia is a social state of law located in South America. It has an estimated population of 47 million people. It also has a multicultural population in regions and races, and it's located between the Cancer and Capricorn Tropic. It has a variety of ecosystems, biodiversity, reliefs, and climates. It's the only country in South America that has two coasts, one in the Pacific Ocean and other in the Caribbean Sea. Chocó is one of the rainiest areas in the world, with about 13,000 millimeters annually. Now we'll show you the emergency situations in our country generated by natural disasters, social and political issues, showing the consequences or response and the positive learning and negative situations. Quetame is a small town located in the central part of Colombia, with a population of approximately 6,000 inhabitants. On the evening of Saturday, May 24, 2008, there was an earthquake of 5.5 degrees on the Richter scale, which shook the center of the east of the country, affecting buildings and houses in the urban and rural area. In response to these situations, as church, we provided help for 300 families for a period of 3 years, in which we provided humanitarian assistance in specific subjects such as food, medicines, cleaning supplies, blankets, and houses to supply potable drinking water. In the same way, it was made a support for the restoration of food gardens needed for the income of families, and in this way to contributing to food security of families. Lessons learned. Thanks to IELCO support and its follow-up, the efforts made were reaffirmed. New leaders were formed to future prevention in emergencies due to the risk management seminar. The Community Action Boards, JAC in Spanish, which means groups formed for members of communities that are located in a determined location, made easier the access to the community and the maintenance of the actions taken. The community was trained on issues such as the demanding of the rights. There was a gradual reduction of the support given by IELCO. Difficulties. Difficulty of access to different places by the conditions of the roads and landslides. Religious beliefs. They thought they were being evangelized to become Lutherans. There was no favorable contact with governmental and ecclesial organizations. Simijaca, Jericó, and San Miguel de Sema. These towns are located at north of the department of Cundinamarca, with a population of 12,417 inhabitants. Their economy is based primarily on farming and agriculture. In 2011, Colombia experienced one of the worst winters in its history, leaving more than 3 million people affected, especially in the central part of the country. Overflowing rivers and creeks caused multiple landslides and floods, leaving hundreds of families who lost all their belongings and had to leave to seek refuge in shelters or improvised homes. In May 2011, the Suarez River took no more to retaining wall and opened, leaving at least 80% of the population under the water. Houses were totally destroyed by the flood. Large tracts of land covered with water and thousands of animals drowned after flooding. In response to this situation, IELCO provided support for 250 families and offered humanitarian aid by delivering blankets, groceries, kitchenware, and others, in order to cover the primary needs of the population. This humanitarian aid was distributed on November and December 2011. Prior to the delivery of this humanitarian aid, it was made a recognition to the affected areas to identify needs, in addition to contact local authorities and other organizations as firefighters and the Roman Catholic Church found in these areas in order to coordinate and work together. Lessons learned. It's very important to count with a local impartial ally as support during the emergency. The government support makes easier access to information, but not for the distribution of aid. To connect the work made with other agencies, health, psychology, in order to provide continuity to the actions after humanitarian assistance. To define and perform monitoring and tracking processes extended, plus an adequate systematization of information and activities. Consider disabled population. Difficulties. Access to the area. Difficulties in the work together with some entities in order to facilitate implementation. Humanitarian emergencies caused by socio-political conflict. In the Catatumbo, a region of abundant natural and mineral resources in the northeast of the country, from June 2013, there has been various indigenous and peasant mobilizations due to the pressure from multinational and transnational mine companies. They have taken out communities for many years to take unlawfully the resources through violence and persecutions of peasant and indigenous organizations. These actions are supported by government economic policies that prioritize the extraction of resources above environmental protection, human rights, and the life of people. In this situation, we, as Church, along with other ecumenical organizations, are committed to accompany dialogues that have been opened between the government and these communities, peasants and indigenous, through a document written by the churches called Position of the Churches About the Conflict of Catatumbo. Our task as an ecclesial organization is to bring an accompaniment of these agreements and to the implementation process from the perspective of non-violence, human rights, and international humanitarian law in pursuit to bring relief and give a support to victims of poverty and violence in this region. In spite of that this situation happened this year, this is a problem that comes from over 25 years ago, and the list of demands of civil society organizations today are almost the same as in 1987. The accompaniment given by IELCO is just a starting process. In spite of this, there are some lessons learned that are important to take into account to continue this support. Lessons learned. Churches have learned to start dialogues and work together for a common purpose. Members of our church are more sensitive about adverse situations faced by many in our country. It's necessary to learn and teach about the importance of enforceability of human rights, to contact sister churches in other countries in order to make this situation visible worldwide. The document written by the churches is an effective tool for advocacy. Difficulties. It's necessary to make an impact study of what we want to achieve in terms of logistics and study of the context before any action. Determined interests can infiltrate when giving humanitarian assistance and divert aid. Finally, we quote a phrase from Dr. Gustavo Wilches Chaux that says, "Management approach of risks teaches that disasters are unresolved problems of development, and also that vulnerability of disasters is a social construction." Our reflection would be that many of the disasters are the consequence of the lack of planning and affects primarily the most vulnerable population. Our wish is that you were able to know some examples of our experience as the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Colombia. Thanks for your time and attention. We'll be ready to answer your questions. Thanks.